It began like any other state ceremony. Diplomatic vehicles pulling up to the gates of the Kaluba Palace, guards in full uniform standing at attention, aides clutching leather folders with official documents. But this was more than routine protocol. It was a declaration. If you look closely, it wasn't just Burkina Faso entering the global stage. It was a world stepping into Burkina Faso. On June 26, 2025, something unprecedented happened in the heart of Ouagadougou. 8 ambassadors from across the world arrived, not merely to greet a leader, but to signal a shift. Their destination was Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Their mission wasn't to instruct or negotiate, but to align. There were no dramatic headlines, no breaking news alerts. Yet history quietly changed course. These visits weren't scattered acts of diplomacy. They were coordinated: 8 nations, 8 flags, 1 week, 1 palace. That wasn't a coincidence. It was a message. India arrived first, a rising superpower with every reason to stay anchored in G20 comfort. India instead chose to recognize a government the West had tried to isolate. Burkina Faso, long portrayed as unstable and authoritarian, was suddenly being embraced, not because it had changed, but because the global power map had. Next came Turkey, a country that's never quite fit within Europe or the Middle East. Ankara has always danced on the edge of Western diplomacy. But this step was bold. It wasn't neutrality, it was endorsement. The same Turkey pushing back against NATO was now investing in a government that had rejected French troops and IMF dictates. Then Cuba. This wasn't nostalgia, it was a homecoming. Years ago, Cuban doctors had walked Africa's battlefields in solidarity. Now, Havana returned, not for charity, but for partnership, an ideological salute to a new kind of African leadership. Gabon and Equatorial Guinea followed, once pillars of France's influence in Africa. Their presence in Ouagadougou marked a break from that past. The grip of Paris was loosening. These resource-rich states were no longer gatekeepers of Francafrique. They were walking through a new open door, one Traoré helped kick down. Sierra Leone came next, not as a nation in need, but as a peer. Its ambassador arrived not with requests, but respect. Long burdened by war and intervention, Sierra Leone recognized something different, a model for recovery and sovereignty built from within. Then came a quiet surprise: Bangladesh. No theatrics, no speeches, just strategic presence. A country that pulled itself out of poverty and climate crisis without Western saviors, now offering its experience to a fellow fighter. A partnership built on survival, not subservience. And finally, Luxembourg, a small but powerful European financial hub, discreet and rarely bold. Its presence was the most telling of all. It came not to lead, but to listen. A silent signal that even Europe's elite are beginning to adapt to a changing world. When the 8th envoy stepped out of the palace, one truth stood clear. Ibrahim Traoré wasn't building a traditional foreign policy. He was hosting the opening act of a new world order, and 8 countries just signed up. But what drew them here? Why gather in a landlocked Sahelian state to meet a military leader once dismissed as a temporary ruler? To answer that, you have to understand Ibrahim Traoré, not the uniform, but the man redefining power in Africa. When he emerged in 2022, most assumed he would follow the same script, a military placeholder until Western-approved elections. But Traoré tore that script apart. He didn't just reject colonial scaffolding, he burned it. And what followed wasn't collapse. It was clarity. He expelled foreign forces, cut off conditional aid, and recentered national resources around real needs: food security, energy independence, local industry. It wasn't ideology. It was intention. And above all, it was consistency. In a world of performative politics, Traoré's actions matched his words. That kind of integrity is rare, and it's contagious. He spoke of African unity, then signed defense pacts with Mali and Niger. He called for economic dignity, then backed local manufacturing over foreign imports. He said he wouldn't be used, then refused to play the West game. To some, Traoré is Sankara reborn, not in rhetoric, but in results. Where Sankara's fire alienated, Traoré's discipline attracts. He doesn't shout. He builds. And other countries are noticing. India sees energy projects it can partner with. Turkey sees a strategic ally mirroring its independent path. Cuba sees a brother in defiance. Gabon and Equatorial Guinea see resource nationalism without isolation. Sierra Leone sees stability without dependency. Bangladesh sees shared resilience. Luxembourg sees a future and wants a foot in the door. Each country came with its own motives, but also the same signal. Burkina Faso isn't just surviving, it's leading. And across the continent, others are listening. Mali and Niger have already followed Traoré's path, rejecting foreign oversight, reclaiming security, and forming the alliance of Sahel states, AES, a bloc that's quietly reshaping post-colonial cooperation. Guinea is asserting control over its minerals. The Central African Republic is exploring new alignments. Even Chad is testing the waters. None of this is coordinated, but none of it is accidental. For decades, African leaders were told that defiance meant collapse. Traoré proved otherwise. His government didn't crumble. It multiplied partnerships, not from pity, but from mutual interest. And it's not just leaders taking note, it's youth. Across African social media, Traoré's words circulate like scripture. He is not just a president. He is a symbol of dignity, sovereignty, and what African leadership could look like when it's unapologetically African. From Senegal to Cameroon, young people are asking the same question. If Burkina Faso can stand tall, why can't we? The African Union may hesitate, but the people don't. This shift doesn't need declarations. It's happening one embassy at a time, one energy deal at a time, one refusal at a time. Because what Traoré has shown is that development doesn't require foreign approval. It requires self-belief. Burkina Faso didn't just turn a page in its history. It rewrote the chapter for an entire continent. And now, Africa must decide who will walk through the door Traoré just opened.